Did he create 24-hour courts to deal with those Leeds rioters? No.
Nothing.
What happened? The social services that took the child into custody on the back of those riots returned the child to the family. In other words, the state sent out the message to everybody that if you riot, the state will listen to you. The state will back down. How many times have you seen in the news left-wing progressives surround police vans deporting illegal migrants or criminals and then letting them go because the mob demanded it? How many of you seen that on the news? One brother, two brothers. So ladies and gentlemen, the state sent out a message that if you riot, the state will listen to you, ladies and gentlemen. How many of you saw what happened at the Manchester airport when a group of thugs attacked police officers inside Manchester airport? And then the media storm that kicked up about that and the protests that occurred following that, including a protest outside of a police station in which a Muslim mob and a Muslim speaker on a megaphone said that unless these thugs were released, speaking of the police inside the police station, the Muslim mobster said, these motherfuckers are gonna get it. Did the full weight of the law land upon that group? No.
Nothing.
What we saw were police officers hiding in their police stations. And the people that attacked those coppers are now walking free. Ladies and gentlemen, who saw in East London a Muslim mob outside of a police station threatening a police station because some Muslims were arrested inside the police station, ladies and gentlemen? Did you hear that in the news? You didn't, did you? You didn't, did you? Ladies and gentlemen. And the reason why you didn't hear it is because it doesn't suit the news agenda to magnify Muslim mobs outside of police stations. However, ladies and gentlemen, we have seen these things on Twitter. We have seen these things on YouTube. And we have seen the silence of Sir Keir Starmer. We have seen the silence of Yvette Cooper. We have seen the silence of the British media, ladies and gentlemen. And so, that is the context in which these riots have occurred in Southport. The state sent out a message because of its own incompetence that the only way that it will listen to you is if you break the law. I am not supporting breaking the law, but I am pointing out the context in which the events of Southport have occurred. Now, ladies and gentlemen, notice how the media has magnified our attention to these patriotic working class communities and their protests. How they have described them as alt-right. But how they have been silent or have diminished the realities of the other riots that I have mentioned, or how the media represented the attacker of those children as a child himself. Ladies and gentlemen, the media shepherds our perceptions. The media distorts realities. JC, could I get some water?
It's coming.
It's coming. The media, ladies and gentlemen, is twisting public debate. And so we should boycott the BBC.
Boycott it.
We should end payment to the TV license.
That's right.
We should demand, ladies and gentlemen,
It's coming,
that
bro.
no money be given to Channel 4 for its broadcasting. Ladies and gentlemen, is it unopened?
Yeah, not open.
Thank you.
Yeah, bro. Hey, how are you, Frank?
Now, ladies and gentlemen, the working class communities
Yeah.
are complaining about a two-tier system. Ladies and gentlemen, are any of you in any doubt that there is a two-tier policing system occurring in the UK?
No.
Are any of you in any doubt that there is two-tier media coverage in the UK?
No.
Are any of you in any doubt that our government is treating its citizens in a two-tier system, ladies and gentlemen, in its response to protests? No, neither am I. And so therefore, ladies and gentlemen, the working classes have a legitimate reason to protest. They have a just cause. They have, ladies and gentlemen, identified a real inequality. It isn't a possibility or a perception. The working class communities actually are second-class citizens in the United Kingdom. They actually are second-class citizens who are treated differently under the law by the government, ladies and gentlemen. And so their cause and their protests are entirely legitimate, so long as they are done democratically and peacefully. Let us remember that these communities that are protesting around the country right now were the same communities betrayed by the police, the state and the Labour Party that turned a blind eye for 40 years to Muslim grooming gangs that industrially raped tens of thousands of working class children. And the state did nothing. These working class communities are the ones that the liberal elites send the illegal migrants to compete for houses, GP appointments, dentist appointments and jobs in working class communities, leading to wage deflation and the overwhelming saturation of state infrastructure, and also has led to a spike in crime in those communities because we are not filtering criminals out at the borders, ladies and gentlemen.
Right, that's right.
Working class communities have had to watch as their families are made homeless, but refugees jump the queue for housing at the dictates of the government. Ladies and gentlemen, these communities have been ignored for 40 years by the government and the champagne socialists that fetishize them and daydream that they are living in solidarity with the poor. Ladies and gentlemen, and I want to point out the hypocrisy of those champagne socialists who at their dinner parties with their middle class friends claim to be concerned about poor communities, whilst doing nothing about anything that I have just mentioned to you, ladies and gentlemen. And that the first time those working class communities find their voice, the Champagne socialists quickly described them as racists and alt-right. Ladies and gentlemen, the state has demonstrated that when it wants to, it can crack down on mobs. We've seen them do that to the working class communities of England. They've set up 24-hour courts. They sent riot police with riot dogs and riot shields in riot gear to batten down and charge working class communities across England, all whilst allowing in Stockport Muslim mobs to walk around carrying hammers and knives in public display. And they didn't challenge them at all. But did you see that on the BBC? No, you didn't. Because the BBC is lying to you about current events, ladies and gentlemen. So we can see that the state cracks down when it wants to. And I want to invite you to move closer. Come in, don't be shy. I'm sure everybody had a shower this morning. Please come and use this space here. Guys, come and use this space here. Don't pan the cameras, please. Ladies and gentlemen. And what has the government done? The government and the media has tried to delegitimize these legitimate anger and these legitimate protests that have woke up around the country, ladies and gentlemen. And how have they tried to do that? They've tried to do that by describing them as alt-right. As alt-right, when they have Jewish, Sikh and Afro-Caribbean supporters. Alt-right, when they're backed by African immigrants.
Yeah.
Alt-right, ladies and gentlemen, when they actually represent working class communities regardless of ethnicity,
right.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Right, that's right.
However, two can play at that game. And so I invite working class communities around England to stop referring to the government as a government and to start referring to the government as a regime. Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, I invite working class communities around England to stop referring to Sir Keir Starmer and you bet your ass I'm a hypocrite Cooper, not as secretaries of state and prime ministers, but as tyrants, ladies and gentlemen. You see, we can all play the game of sophism, and it is time that the working classes started to learn the power of language, ladies and gentlemen.
Right.
Because to describe those working classes as alt-right, as the media did, and as the government did, was to incite that Muslim mob to come onto the streets with hammers and knives, ladies and gentlemen, as they did, as we have seen, ladies and gentlemen. Now, ladies and gentlemen, he says I'm a liar. He says I provide the evidence. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to see the evidence that those mobs attacked mosques. There you go. They did. Where's the evidence? Ladies and gentlemen.
You wished it was a Muslim.
Ladies and gentlemen. No.
It was a young guy
Let's go on.
born in this country. So stop lying to the public.
We've mentioned repeatedly the example in Southport that a mob, a Muslim mob, armed with hammers and knives, were walking through the street.
That's more propaganda.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Propaganda.
you can find the videos on Twitter.
Okay.
You can find the
TikTok.
videos on YouTube.
On TikTok.
The BBC, you can find them on TikTok.
Yes, right.
There are reports of stabbings and attacks by this Muslim
How's
mob.
that accurate? TikTok.
And do you know what the police's response was?
What was it?
To have a Muslim police officer go up to the Muslim mob
Okay.
with a megaphone and tell them to go and kindly deposit their weapons at the mosque. How is that not two-tier policing?
It is, it is, it is.
Stop lying to the public.
The working class communities were battened and charged in riot gear.
Yeah.
Imagine, ladies and gentlemen, imagine, ladies and gentlemen,
Look at the video.
the uproar and the outrage
Yeah.
that you would all be hearing if it was a mob of working class people walking through the streets with hammers and knives. Would you not be hearing about it?
Yes. Yes.
Would you not
Yes.
be hearing the outrage?
24/7.
And rightly so, because such things should be condemned.
Stop lying to the public.
So why, ladies and gentlemen,
He's a
is
fool.
the state, why is the, ladies and gentlemen, is the state and the media so light touch
I wish it was a Muslim.
upon this mob?
Rwandan Christian.
Why aren't they going to feel the full weight of the law?
Yeah, it's Axel. His name's Axel.
Axel Foley.
Yeah, he's a
And so, ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah.
we should call,
Yeah.
ladies and
Wish it
gentlemen,
was a Muslim. You wish.
we should call, ladies and gentlemen,
Just don't
for
bring
the
it up.
full weight of the law to be applied on the Muslim Defence League. We should call, ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah.
for the Muslim Defence League
Okay.
to prescribe terrorist organisation. Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah.
this is how out of touch our elites are
Out of-
to the situation on the ground.
Yeah, they are.
They're calling for the prescription of the EDL.
Hooligans.
The EDL was disbanded years ago. It doesn't exist.
That's it.
Political party.
So they're calling to make illegal
No, there's a political
an
party.
organisation that doesn't actually exist, whilst ignoring an organisation that does. JC, don't bite.
Don't worry,
Now,
Bob.
ladies and
Don't worry,
gentlemen,
Bob.
I want to point out to you something profoundly disturbing about what we saw in Southport. As you may or may not know, I've been an advocate for the persecuted church for many a year, speaking about what has happened to persecuted Christians around the world. And in Egypt, under President Mubarak and under the Muslim Brotherhood, it was a common sight to see, ladies and gentlemen, Muslim mobs walking around the streets of Egypt, attacking Christian communities with weapons when the security forces did absolutely nothing.
What's this got to do with Southport?
What we have seen in
What's
Southport
it got to do with Southport?
is an identical replication of those events,
Muslims have got nothing
ladies
to
and
do with
gentlemen.
Southport.
And we must all recognise that simply interpreting this struggle in some nationalistic, narrow way is self-defeating.
Muslims have got nothing to do
The
with
fight of the persecuted church is the same fight that we face in England. They are not separate things.
Muslims have got nothing
They
to do with
are the
Southport,
same
please.
thing. ladies and gentlemen. And we have seen
Muslims
the
have nothing to do with Southport killing.
replication of events that are normative under a dictatorship in a Muslim society
Muslims have got
here
nothing to do
in
with the murder in
Southport,
Southport.
ladies and gentlemen.
He's a liar. Muslims have got nothing to do with Muslims in
Many more Christians, I want to point out to the church,
Yeah.
are amongst the patriots that have stood with Tommy Robinson than their commie socialist opponents like we see here.
Not commie.
These commie socialist opponents,
Answer my question. What have
these
Muslims-
defenders
I'm not defending
of
anybody.
abuse who were silent about the children that were being raped in these working class communities,
We're talking about
who were
Southport.
silent about
Can we stick to
armed
Southport?
Muslim mobs
Can we stick
and
to
had
Southport?
nothing to say about
Can we
them,
stick to
ladies and
Southport?
gentlemen,
Can we stick to Southport?
suddenly have found their voice because, like the sheeple that they are,
Okay.
they can only think as far as the BBC tell them to think, ladies and
Can you answer my
gentlemen.
question?
And so,
Yeah.
all of you who are Christians,
Yeah.
you must ask yourself, where is the church choosing to stand? The
the
church
truth.
is voting
With
with
the truth.
its feet, and it is siding with the poor and the oppressed, which is the right place for the church always to be. And the working class communities of England are the poor, are the oppressed. And that is where the church should be, shoulder to shoulder with those communities who have been rode roughshod for the last 40 years by political elites that don't want to hear their cries and their sufferings.
Can I ask a question?
Ladies and gentlemen,
Can I ask a
after
question?
I'm
Can I
done,
ask a question?
after I'm done,
Well, that
Can I ask a
boxing.
question?
after I'm done.
Can I ask a
So,
question?
ladies and gentlemen, now you can't.
Why not?
Now, ladies and gentlemen,
Because you can't
I want
answer
to
it.
talk, ladies and gentlemen, directly to the people involved in these protests. And I want to use the example of Pastor Ricky Doolan. Who knows Pastor Ricky Doolan?
Go on.
Pastor Ricky Doolan
Yeah.
is the patriotic pastor. He was on stage with Tommy Robinson, Union Jack coat, guitar in hand, worshipping Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
He went up to Southport
Okay.
to stand in solidarity with those communities.
Okay. Okay.
And when he was up there,
Yeah.
an ethno-nationalist
Oh.
in a black shirt started accusing him of being anti-white.
Wow.
Why?
Why?
Because Pastor Ricky Doolan has black people in his church. And Pastor Ricky Doolan,
Yeah.
like all Christians,
Okay.
is against racism
Yeah.
and against xenophobia.
Right. That's right.
Pastor Ricky Doolan
Okay.
believes in controlled immigration.
Hey.
And there are some
Yeah.
ethno-nationalists that want to attach themselves, ladies and gentlemen, to these legitimate protests. And they want to hijack them for racist ends. And notice the BBC sheep have suddenly gone silent because I'm talking their narrative. all
Give
of
me
a
a chance, I
sudden.
won't be silent.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Why attack a,
I wanna be
why
clear.
attack a mosque in Southport?
I want to be clear, ladies and
Clear,
gentlemen.
Bob.
We must not allow anyone
Yeah.
to hijack these protests and frame it as natives v immigrants, because that is not where the battle lines
That's not my
lie,
question.
ladies and gentlemen.
That's not
Right. That's right.
There are
Yeah.
natives that side with the internationalist agenda, and there are immigrants who side with the Catholic agenda,
This is babble.
ladies and gentlemen. And why do I say Catholic
BBC.
and not nationalist?
Why?
Because I want to be clear, ladies and gentlemen,
Okay.
that the Christian cause must always be framed in a way that is multi-ethnic and multinational.
You sound like a
And that
totalitarian.
means, ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah.
that means, ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah.
this is a battle between those that want to see an international Christian culture in each nation state and those that want an international liberal culture across the world. That's the real battleground that we face. That's the real dividing line. It's not about colour or whether you're an immigrant. It's not about whether you're black and white. It's about whether you want your nation to be rooted in its own culture or whether you want your nation to be dissolved by liberal internationalism and the international markets, ladies and gentlemen.
Answer some questions.
And on those battle lines,
Answer some questions.
natives and immigrants are on both sides,
Right.
ladies and gentlemen.
Right, Bob. Drink some
Why
water,
attack
Bob.
mosques? Why attack mosques?
So,
Drink some water, Bob.
I'm going to take a question, not from you. You
Why
can
not?
wait. You can wait. And when you don't interrupt, I'll take
You
a
can't
question.
answer my
Okay,
question.
that's fair.
Go on, bro.
You can't answer my question.
Got information
That's
saying
fair.
on
I'm gone.
I was in
Don't-
Southport
I'm not
on
BBC journalist.
Tuesdays as the riot started. I witnessed it for myself. I was there. I interviewed the pastor at
Ricky
the-
Doolan.
at the location where the young girls were murdered. I've also spoken to the pastor 2 days ago.
What's the question?
Why do you believe, shut up,
not.
why do you believe
You shut up.
that people in general are feeling so angry that they took to the streets, smashed down walls and rioted?
Okay, ladies and gentlemen.
Question.
Now, Street Mike wasn't here at the beginning,
Once again, once
so I'm
again.
going to cover some of the same territory.
Alright.
The reason why the working classes of England are so upset and so angry is because for 40 years they have been ignored, even by the groups that claim to represent them. The trade unions have abandoned the working class. Labour has abandoned the working class. Government has abandoned the working class. They were not listened to when their communities had uncontrolled immigration foisted upon them. They were not listened to, ladies and gentlemen, when their children were being raped and they called out to the police for help and their representatives for help. Ladies and gentlemen, all of these issues have been wound up with and have been connected to yet another tragedy that has befallen yet another working class community. Ladies and gentlemen, simply calling them far right will not deal with the problem. Another question, ladies and gentlemen.
Can I ask you a question?
Another, when you stop interrupting, another question.
You interrupted me.
Ladies and gentlemen. Going once,
started under Tony Blair, sir.
going twice.
Ask you a question?
Tony Blair.
No, you were waiting until you stop interrupting. Any other question or I'm going to carry on?
I think you're a totalitarian.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to carry on.
Yeah, because you can't answer my question.
No. Ladies and gentlemen,
Sir, it started under Tony Blair. You forget to mention Tony Blair.
You sound like Tony Blair, apparently, Bob.
he interrupted JC. I'm not going to engage with him. He has to wait. He has to learn not to interrupt, and then I will engage with him. Now, ladies and gentlemen, and this I want to direct to the Christians, ladies and gentlemen. I want to direct this. Listen to the words of Jesus.
Relax.
You have enough sexual life with Muhammad.
Are you listening?
You have enough sexual life with Muhammad.
Brother, just stand in front of him, don't talk to him. He does this every week. If you ignore him, he goes away, but just block him out. So, ladies and gentlemen, our Lord said this.
Relax.
Meanwhile, the disciples, Rabbi, he said to that you do not. Disciples were saying No one brought him, no one brought anything to eat, did he? Jesus said to them, food is to do me and to accomplish his work. Do you not say, there are yet 4 months, and then comes the harvest? Behold, I say to you, lift up your eyes and look on the fields, that they are white for the harvest. Already he who reaps is receiving wages, and is gathering fruit for life eternal, so that he who sows and he who reaps may rejoice together. For in this case the saying is true, one sows and another reaps. I sent you to reap that for which you have not laboured. Others have laboured, and you have entered into their labour. I want to comment on this passage from Scripture, and I want to directly speak to the church. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, there is a harvest, ripe for the harvest, amongst the working class patriots. They desire truth. They desire to find a group that will speak for them, that will help them to organize, that will help them to stand up for their rights. There is a harvest ripe amongst the working classes, and that is where the church should be right now, doing the work of God. See the signs of the times, know the seasons, and go amongst the working classes to help them with their cause, to galvanize it in a godly direction, to help them. Lend to them your churches, lend to them your resources. Look up from your church programs and see that right now we are in a Kyrios moment, a moment of opportunity. Christ was speaking of his own time, because John the Baptist had worked tirelessly in his own ministry, preparing the people of Israel for the work of the kingdom. And this is the context in which our Lord was speaking. And so there have been decades of work amongst the working classes that is now ripe for the plucking. And so the church must go in amongst the patriots, in amongst the working classes, and bring their cause to Christ, ladies and gentlemen, and make them see that their cause, whilst just, is part of a bigger cause, the cause of the kingdom of God. And that kingdom of God, ladies and gentlemen, is the very thing that will suffocate the Islamist apologist. That very cause, the kingdom of God, will push aside the liberal apologist and the BBC sheep of society. Ladies and gentlemen, we, ladies and gentlemen, must gather the fruit of the work of generations. And I say to the working class patriots, if you want to find the churches that are standing with you, don't go to those hypocrites in the Church of England. Go to the Pentecostals and the evangelicals in your communities, because they are the ones who are standing with you. They are the ones who are on stage with Tommy Robinson. Those are the ones that you should be supporting, and recognize that the fight for the kingdom of God is bigger, better, and more important than the fight for England, ladies and gentlemen. Now,
Working class don't need religion.
my last point, and then I'm done, and then I'm going to take questions. I want to encourage all of these people who are involved in this movement, take a step back from violence. Discipline your anger. Use that energy to get involved in politics. Organize yourselves into local chapters. We've seen the necessity that you have to train in self-defense because the police clearly are not going to defend you. You need to unite, ladies and gentlemen, with other groups. Don't make this, ladies and gentlemen, about ethnicity. Ally with middle classes who are willing to ally with you. Support those who are willing to speak on your behalf, ladies and gentlemen. My gosh, if the Protestants and Catholics of Northern Ireland can unite, and anyone who's British knows that that's a miracle, then you know, ladies and gentlemen, that we have a real problem in England to deal with. And you've got to mobilise. Keep up the pressure on the establishment. Your cause is just. But educate yourselves to use the democratic institutions. Abandon the trade unions. End your subscriptions. Boycott the BBC. Organise protest. Organise and support political parties that will stand up for you. And I want to say to the Reform Party this. People in the Reform Party, the people that are protesting on the street are your base. They are the ones that are electing you. But if you will not represent them, they can always find an alternative, like UKIP, for instance. So Reform Party, step up and start speaking out for these communities as the real representatives of working class people. On the topic, bro. Any other questions on the topic?
Regulatory for the working class, sir.
What do you have to say about this guy's question about churches being empty?
Right. On the topic, sir.
Oh, okay.
On the topic I've just been speaking about. I'll do a general Q&A later.
Sir, excuse me for heckling.
Okay.
I just want to ask you one question.
So,
One question.
what I will say is that Muslim trolls like this
I'm not a troll.
use this claim of anti-churches to try and demoralise you, ladies and gentlemen.
Our church ain't empty.
They're trying to demoralise you. But put your hand up if you go to a full church. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Don't believe. Shall I tell you what churches are empty?
Which ones?
The humanist churches, the civil religion churches, the we want to get along with the established churches. Those are the ones that are empty, ladies.
You don't love your neighbour then.
And let's be clear, ladies and
You don't love your
gentlemen,
neighbour.
if there were as many mosques in this country as churches, right, question. Try to be on topic. Show that you were listening. You didn't interrupt. Go on.
Why did the rioters attack a mosque in South?
Right, ladies and gentlemen,
Question, Bob.
I'm just going to point out, I'm going to answer like a liberal troll answers the question.
Okay.
So the question is, why did the rioters attack a mosque?
Why?
You had nothing to do
Here's
with
how
it.
a liberal troll answers those kind of questions when we ask about why were working class girls targeted by Muslim grooming gangs.
Okay.
How do the liberal trolls answer?
how?
They answer by saying, well, they're white paedophiles. Why was a church in East London attacked by a Muslim?
Can you answer my question?
Why was St James Sussex Gardens attacked by a Muslim
you answer
who
my
in
question?
court said, I did it because I hate Christians?
Okay.
Why, ladies gentlemen, were the anti-Christian pogroms in Egypt. And why, ladies and gentlemen, do liberal trolls like this never speak about those issues? Never speak about those issues. Now, to be better than the liberals, I will answer the question. Why? More is because they were frustrated, they were and leadership in people. Happened because some idiot, some buffoon, who I hope the police capture, spread a lie that the person that killed those children had a Muslim name. That's why they marched on that. But notice, ladies and gentlemen, that we've never seen this guy go to the Muslims and say, why was St. James Church had all its windows smashed in? Let us see. Go and do it now. Let us have you on camera. I bet you there's not one video he can show. Not one video. Ladies and gentlemen.
Actually,
Just been arresting Christians.
There
There you go.
I'm not a Christian.
Next question, ladies and
I'm not a rational
gentlemen.
Christian.
Go on, bro.
I'm an
He
atheist.
interrupts JC. I will never ever answer a question of someone who heckles. Go on, bro.
Wow. Okay.
Yes,
Is it because I speak English? Is it because I can
Sorry?
speak better
Yes,
English than
it's
you?
true. Reform Party is on the rise. Many people are joining. Also UKIP. But why there is a nasty campaign against Nigel Farage and Richard Tice?
Right, ladies
what
and
was the
gentlemen.
question, Bob? Sila.
Why
Yeah.
is there a hate campaign against leading members of Reform?
Okay.
Because they are contradicting the liberal narrative. That's why.
Okay.
Reform is spotlighting issues that the liberal elites would sooner just ignore, ladies and gentlemen. Like the fact that we are living in a country that no longer has a southern border. Think about that for a second. One of the most powerfulest countries in the world has lost control of its southern border. How is that not a problem, ladies and gentlemen? I want to be clear.
Yeah.
I have migrants who are my friends.
Yeah, me too.
I am fully supportive
Stop lying.
of legal migration, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay.
The problem with illegal migration is you have no idea who is coming through.
That's right. That's right.
And we now have documented countless examples of migrants coming through who almost within a year are committing crimes. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a problem.
It is.
Ladies and gentlemen.
It is.
And it needs to be addressed. The liberal elites have lost control of their prison system, where Islamist gangs are running riots and forcibly converting people to Islam.
My mother cares for your
Ladies
grandmother.
and
My
gentlemen,
mother cares for your
where
grandmother.
drugs are
Stop lying.
rampant in the prison system. Prisoners have been abandoned, ladies and gentlemen, by the state. The reason why they hate Reform is because Reform is talking about all the things that the liberal elites don't want you to think about.
That's right.
Ladies and gentlemen. Any other questions, ladies and gentlemen?
On the topic of
Yeah, go on, bro.
We need less religion.
I just wonder whether you're aware of it, why the British government awarded the Muslim community 117 million, yeah, to protect the Muslim schools, community centres and mosques, yeah, and this was back in March. So did the government know that something was happening beforehand?
Right. Firstly, brother, let's not call them a government. Let's call them a regime.
Call the other guy, brother.
We're not talking about a government.
Okay.
We're talking about a regime. A regime that acts like tyrants, ladies and gentlemen,
But you elected them.
that have reduced the working class community to second class citizens in the UK. The regime talks about those working classes and villainises them as alt-right. We can all play this sophist game, so let's stop referring to them as a government and let's start talking about them as a regime. And let's stop talking about them as the Prime Minister or Home Secretary, and let's call them a tyrant instead, ladies and gentlemen. You want to call us alt-right racists? We'll call you a regime. You stop villainising us and we'll stop calling you names as well.
Fair enough, sir.
Now, ladies and gentlemen.
Why have you never been interviewed?
Now, ladies and gentlemen.
Was it too much?
The British government has offered 160 million to protect Muslim schools and Muslim mosques, ladies and gentlemen. And they did that before current events occurred. Now, ladies and gentlemen, why did they do that? They did it because they are postulating a narrative that there is an equal problem in our society between radical Muslims and the radical alt-right. And so this policy is a position they see the gentlemen. It goes with saying Muslim communities are worthy of protection. The same protection that everyone else should receive. So let's be clear.
Protection.
The United Kingdom doesn't have an alt-right problem.
You need
As an Islamist.
correct yourself.
Over 40,000 people on MI5's watch list are Islamists. And this brother laughs again, exposing himself.
It's so laughable.
Over 90% of those being the security Islam. Ladies and gentlemen, an alt-right problem.
You know yourself,
we have an Islamist problem.
Excuse me.
And we have a problem with our elite, ladies and gentlemen.
They work for your intelligence.
We have an elite in the United. That's the problem.
We know the type that on the watch.
These protests that we see right now are the cobweb. They are not the cause. And as anyone who owns a house knows, until you deal with the spider, you never get rid of the cobwebs. Any other questions, ladies and gentlemen?
Have you ever handled a spider?
Let someone else ask a question. Any other questions?
Have you ever handled a spider, sir? You're talking about spider. Have you ever handled a spider?
What?
You're scared of a spider.
You need to pay more attention. I literally just answered that question. Literally just answered that question, bro.
Sir, we need less Hitlers in this world.
You need to come closer if you can't hear me.
We need less Hitlers in this world.
Any other questions, ladies and gentlemen?
We need less Hitlers in this world.
We need less apologists like him in this world.
Less National Socialism and
there we go.
fascism.
Any other questions? Going once?
You're a fascist. I know you read Mussolini and Adolf Hitler's Mein Kampf.
Going twice?
You
About your religion, my friend.
You're a supremacist.
You don't have no scriptures,
And he's not a real Christian.
It's all fake.
That's not a real Christian.
So, ladies and gentlemen,
he has so much hatred.
the question is,
He has so much hatred.
do we need more Christians in politics? And the answer is, it doesn't matter how many Christians we have in politics,
You're a hater.
if those Christians are not actually guided by a Christian worldview.
Yes.
We've had multiple Christians in politics.
Sir, what's your birth rate of your people? What's the birth
We're all
rate?
messing.
Give me statistics of the birth rate of your people. The birth rate.
Tony Blair.
Answer that question.
David Cameron.
Your birth was it 25%?
Pointless.
How many children?
The Christian
Sorry for you.
it does many Christians we elect
How many Christians? The more the
follow
African
a
people,
liberal
the
agenda.
Question.
And so
Birth rate of your
before
community.
we ask the question,
What's the birth rate
how
of your
can we
community?
get more Christians into politics,
What's the birth
we
rate?
need
of
to
your people?
ask a much more important question,
What's the birth rate?
which is, what kind of Christian country are we working
What's
for?
the birth rate of your?
Are we working for a Christian country at all?
You're not replacing your population.
And if anyone who is in politics and calls themselves a Christian
I feel sorry for you.
says honestly
Same thing in North
that they are
America.
not working for a Christian country, then they are a pointless politician as far as the church is concerned. Any questions,
What's your
ladies and
birth rate?
gentlemen?
You never answered that question. What's the Caucasian birth rate in North America and Europe? Answer that question.
Any other questions?
What's the birth
Go on,
rate?
bro.
That's why you're bloody shit in your pants.
And poor
You're
kids
not
dying.
replacing your population.
For what's been going on in London with the riots and everywhere across England, them little kids dying because of that attack. What I don't understand is why Sadiq Khan, the Muslim mayor of London, hasn't come out, give his condolences or made one like appearance or anything on Twitter or anything. Why is that? Because he's too scared to upset the Muslim community.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, the claim is that Sadiq Khan has not expressed his public condolence to the victims of Southport. I do not know if that is true or not. He may very well have, ladies and gentlemen. However, if underlined, italicized, emboldened, if he has not given his public condolences, then serious questions need to be asked of Sadiq Khan. Because if those children were Muslim, I am 100% confident that he would have been amongst the first people to speak. However, again, I don't know if the assumptions of the question are true, and so my answer is conditional. Any other questions, ladies and gentlemen? Any other questions going once?
Why do you think there's like Islamic extremist problems in the UK? Why is there more Islamic extremism in the UK than Muslim countries?
Right. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm no longer going to project my voice. If you want to listen to me but you can't hear me, you're going to have to move closer. So I'm not going to project my voice. If you want to hear me, move closer. So the question is, why do we have a radical Islam problem in this country? And the answer to that, ladies and gentlemen, and it isn't the case that it's bigger in England than it's bigger in a Muslim country, because it depends which Muslim country you look at. There's a massive Muslim radicalization problem in Pakistan. It's much bigger than in the UK. But the reality is, the UK is a net exporter of Islamic terrorism. That is again a condemnation of our liberal elites, who have allowed the UK to be a net exporter of Islamic radicalization. But why does it exist in the first place? It exists primarily because there are groups pushing a revivalist Islam, like the Salafists, like the Muslim Brotherhood, like Tablighi al-Jamaat, and I probably mispronounced the name, like Hizb ut-Tahrir, whom the government has allowed to continue to operate in our countries without opposition and without crackdown. And these Islamist movements have tapped into what Islam was at its birth: an imperialist, colonialist, supremacist ideology that believes in the subjugation of the whole world to Sharia law by any means necessary, including violent jihad. And why, ladies and gentlemen, have our elites allowed this pus, this rot, to develop in our society? Why have they not crushed the Muslim Brotherhood? Why have they not crushed Tablighi al-Jamaat? Why have they not crushed Hizb ut-Tahrir? Why have they not crushed the radical Salafist mosques? Why? Because in the liberal worldview, all religions are secondary matters. Any problem in society cannot be interpreted through the prism of religion. And wherever these two things intersect, a problem and religion, the liberals default to the idea that any religion can be as bad as the next, that any ideology can be as bad as the next, and that because Islam in this country is mainly Asian subcontinent in ethnicity, our liberal elites confuse, ladies and gentlemen, ethnicity and religion. And that is why the Labour government is committed to outlawing Islamophobia, listen to the next bit, as a form of racism. Guys, don't pay him attention, he's feeding on your attention. Please don't engage, brother, you're feeding him attention. Just ignore him. Just ignore him, guys, you're feeding him attention. Just ignore him, please. He will go away if you ignore him. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the solution to the problem is not to double down on liberal secularism. The solution to the problem is that we all strive for Christian United Kingdom. That is where we must put our energies politically, economically, socially and culturally. Put your hand up if you agree with what I've just said. Keep your hand up, and I want you to note how this cause unites people from every ethnicity, every colour, every culture, every language, both migrants and natives. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why this cause has to be a cause for Christendom and not a cause for natives against immigrants. Next question, ladies and gentlemen.
Just following up that question then, what do you think
Firstly, let's not refer to this government as a government. Let us refer to them as a regime, because they have reduced working class communities to second-class citizens in this country. That is what the tyrants have done, ladies and gentlemen. And so, what the people must do is destroy the Labour Party. What the people must do is destroy the trade union movement. What the people must do is destroy the Conservative Party. And how must we destroy them? By using the full rights to organise, to politicise our communities, extra, supra, state, outside of the state, outside of the state, but in a democratic way, so that we begin to take over our local communities and our local politicised constituencies, so that they begin to reflect our concerns. And again, I say to the church and to the Reform Party, this is your moment. Right now, lift up your eyes from your church programs and see that the opportunity is now to stand with the working classes, is now to give voice to their concerns. And if you will not, then we can find another, because churches can organise without those churches that will not support them. And if the Reform Party will not stand with the people, then we can find a party that will. So it is about what the government does, but about what all of you can do. Ladies and gentlemen, stop looking to the regime. The regime has shown you that it wants to treat you and will treat you as second-class citizens. So organise yourselves to replace the regime through the democratic process and through the democratic methods in a war that we fight democratically. Go on.
Okay, I'm a visitor here. So I was wondering that in America there's a difference between a Republican politician and a Democrat politician. But when I come here, I don't want to hear but I know the difference between conservative politicians and Labour politicians.
Okay, what's your question, bro? Right. So the question is, ladies and gentlemen, why is there no observed difference? Because the Labour Party and the Conservative Party are both fully committed to the same internationalist liberal agenda. They are both fully committed to the idea that we want a world in which all culture and value are subject to the needs of the economy, and your only value is as a GDP point to that economy, and that you're just there to buy and to consume, and you are there to serve the elites, and they distract you with bread and circuses. And the reason why the Labour Party and the Conservative Party sound and do exactly the same things is because the only difference between them is how they manage the implementation of the same ideology. They have no real ideological difference. And that is why we need ideological education in our communities to recognise that this is a battle between creating a Catholic world, not Catholic in the sense of Roman Catholic, but Catholic in the sense of a Christian, multi-ethnic society that values local custom and tradition, versus a liberal internationalist agenda in which they dilute local culture and custom and tradition and identity to turn you into consumers for an international market that they themselves control, ladies and gentlemen. And I want to be clear that to anyone who wants to use my words to spread some conspiratorial crap about it's the Jews, me and you are not on the same side. The elite of Jews, they are all liberal progressives, and yes, some Jews are liberal progressives, but then again, so are some black people, and so are some Christians, and so are some Muslims. So do not find succor in any of my words for this struggle as one between a liberal internationalism and a Christian Catholicism. Because Catholic means universal. Universal means that it is open to all ethnicities, ladies and gentlemen. And I am advocating for a new Christendom which is open to people of all ethnicities and cultures. But alongside that, I support the idea of an ecumenical movement in the church, a new ecumenism, like we've seen in Northern Ireland, where Protestants and Catholics have put aside their historical differences and have stood together, shoulder to shoulder, Irish flag and Ulster flag, flying in the same march, in the same cause. We as Christians must put aside our differences, because the battle against liberal internationalism and the battle against Islamization is far bigger and far more important than your squabbles between Protestants, Catholics and Orthodox. When we've dealt with the bigger problems, then let's return to these discussion points. Go on, sir.
Why don't you wipe out all religion, just disregard all religions and just work on a neutral base where no one has their God higher than anyone else's God. Nice neutral base. I'm from New Zealand, mainly an atheist country, no problems like you've got here.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, let's be clear. The liberal progressives tell us, they try to dupe us, that a secular, non-religious state is a neutral state. But, ladies and gentlemen, the God of liberal secularism is the idol of humanity and the God of the self. The United Kingdom, France and the USA are all following the ideology proposed by this gentleman here. And that ideology has given rise to the abuse of women through transgenderism. It has given rise to Islamization in France and America and the UK, because that ideology cannot and will not deal with the problem, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, this idea that we don't favour one religion over another is a myth, because the human heart desires a God, and those societies built on liberal secularism do have a God. It is called the liberal nation state, ladies and gentlemen. And the idea that there are no problems in New Zealand is not true. The rot of Islamization has already started in New Zealand, but it hasn't progressed enough for the liberal progressives to notice. But if they don't believe me, they can look at France, they can look at the UK, they can look at the USA, they can look at secular Turkey, they can look at the birth of secular Pakistan, secular Egypt, that all started implementing what this man suggests and resulted in, ladies and gentlemen, the problems we are seeing in our society today. In other words, this brother is saying let's double down on failure. I'm saying let's hack our way back to a path that once worked. Christendom, ladies and gentlemen. Any other questions?
Touched on the Islamization in France. What do you think should be done, and what do you think of the Islamization in France happening now?
Ladies and gentlemen, if anyone wants to know how bad things can get, they only need to look at what is happening in France at the moment. In France, they have uncontrolled Islamization, where women have disappeared from certain suburbs in and around Paris, where armed groups have literally walked through the streets carrying weapons, Kalashnikovs, where churches are regularly attacked in their thousands, ladies and gentlemen. What must happen in France is that the first daughter of the church returns to her first love and commits herself once again to a Christendom in France, to a Christian France. And make no mistake about it, ladies and gentlemen, Christianity is growing in France. Baptisms are up, and many Muslims are becoming Christians in France as well, because many Muslims don't want to live under Sharia law also. But, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say directly to the people of France, the principles of the Republic are exactly the things that got you into the mess you're in. Doubling down on failure is not the solution. The cry across Europe must be to establish a new Christendom in Europe, where Christians in France make common cause with Christians in England, who make common cause with Christians in Germany, who make common cause with Christians in Nigeria, who make common cause with Christians in Ethiopia, who make common cause with Christians in Cyprus, who make common cause with Christians in Pakistan, who make common cause with Christians in India, who make common cause with Christians in Burma, who make common cause with Christians in the Philippines, who make common cause with the Christians of the Sudan, who make common cause with the Christians of Malaysia. We need a revival of the Catholicness of the body of Christ against the enemies of the church. Ladies and gentlemen, are the Muslims the enemy? That's the question. I'm going to answer his question first. After he's, let me deal with his question and then I'll deal with yours. Brother, if you interrupt, I won't take a question from you.
You think the Muslims are just going to roll over and say, yeah, sure, create your
Right,
Christian.
ladies and gentlemen, notice how simplistic the liberal thinks. Did you hear me say Muslims are the enemy? No, I didn't say that, did I? But so dumb are the liberals, so lacking in cognizance and the ability to listen and think in diverse categories, that you talk about the Islamization and the thick, sheepish liberal accuses you of saying that Muslims are the enemy. Let me be clear. Muslims are not the enemy, but Islamization is a real problem.
No, it's not. It's
Ladies and gentlemen,
it's the solution.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's be clear. Guys, don't bite. Don't bite. He's a troll. He's a Muslim troll. Don't bite.
Yeah, but what you got?
Ignore it.
15th century, 16th
Ladies
century.
and gentlemen,
you got the Roman numerals.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Arabic
this is the liberal troll. He wants to say to me, and this Muslim apologist wants to say to me, that bombed churches are not a problem. Ladies and gentlemen, that anti-Christian pogroms are not a problem. That anti-Christian genocide is not a problem. That turning Christians into dimmies and second-class citizens are not a problem. And if I should dare say that these things are a problem, they accuse me of spreading hatred.
No, you just live
well, I
in
want to
delusional
point
world,
out to them
that
your apathy allows hatred to spread. Your silence allows churches to be attacked. Your silence allows Christians to be killed.
Right.
It is not that people like me are the problem. The problem is people like you. Why, brother? JC, did you invite him to come?
Stand there. Yep. Stand there.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, any other questions?
30 seconds. Can I have 30
Any other questions, ladies? Yeah, go on, sir.
It doesn't disgust me, does it?
That believes that you cannot destroy Islam
What's the question?
So my question Islam, can you agree with me?
So, ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah. Thank you, Bob.
the question is,
What's the question, Bob? Sila.
how, ladies and gentlemen, do you respond to Islam?
Okay.
So, ladies and gentlemen,
Which gave us the numerical system
we need
of
to
0 to
respond as Christians, ladies and gentlemen.
which is why it's dying.
We need to unashamedly critique and expose Sharia law.
like Paris
We
Olympics.
must, without shame, critique
you gave a good
the
description
Quran
of the Paris
and the
Olympics.
Hadiths, ladies and gentlemen. Brother, he's an Islamist. He's not going to listen to you. You must assert your rights over the Islamist dog. You mustn't allow them to bully, ladies and gentlemen. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's be clear.
Yeah.
Let's be clear, ladies and gentlemen.
Let's be clear.
I want to say Islam emerges from an Arab culture. And so we cannot commit ourselves to destroying a culture, because Arab culture can be beautiful. Arab culture is beautiful,
Because they don't have
but
drinking,
it's
unlike
beautiful when it is freed from Islam and the Quran. And so what we must do is destroy the teachings of the Quran. Why? By how? By pointing people to the teachings of Jesus and showing the superiority of Christ over the Quran, of Christ over Muhammad. We must build and point to the idea that a Christian civilization is better than an Islamic civilization. Would you like to debate, sir? Would you like to debate? Would you like to debate? Right, I'm going to take another question.
Do you know what? Do you know why he doesn't want to
I'm
debate?
going to debate you.
He doesn't want to debate with me, does he?
One second.
Can I have 30 seconds? 30 seconds.
I'm not interested.
You're a coward. You're a coward.
You said that
I'm not a troll.
Yes, it is.
He's a coward. There you go.
because of the Islamic culture.
He doesn't want to argue with me, does he?
Even Jesus is Arab. What are you talking about?
So let me reply. I'll listen to your point.
I like it. Go.
Yeah, it's good question. Yeah.
So firstly, just as a point of fact, I have to correct you. Jesus was a Jew, he wasn't an Arab, right?
Yeah, but
Arab, wait. I didn't interrupt. Abdul, I did not interrupt you. Listen to what I'm going to say.
all right.
Yeah,
He won't listen. He won't let anyone speak, will he?
That the Arabs are descendant of Ishmael, and the Jews are descendant of Isaac. And so Jesus was a Jew, not an Arab. That's your first correction. Your second correction is that Arab culture is more beautiful when it's Christian than when it's Muslim. How do we know this?
How
do we know? Let me give you an example.
Okay, that's fine.
Lebanon used to be a Christian Arabized culture.
Okay.
And when it was majority Christian, it was the Singapore of the Middle East.
Oh.
Since it became majority Muslim, what does it look like now?
Okay.
The Syrian Christians are an example of a Christian Arabized culture. Beautiful it was. Beautiful.
Right.
But now look at what it became after Islam. It became Arabized. That's the first problem.
Well, like Qatar, that's a very good country, isn't
ladies
it?
and
It's all
gentlemen,
Islam.
this
And
kind
you look
of-
at this guy, right?
this-
He doesn't want to speak, does he? Right.
Ladies and
Do you know
gentlemen,
why? Christianity is
this
fully behind his
idea
back.
of Arab supremacism that is spread
by
Islam
by
is
mathematics.
something that we should all reject. Ladies
No,
and
it's
gentlemen.
not. It's
What
like
do you wanna say,
mathematics,
Abdul?
mate.
So basically,
Sorry, it is Abdul, right?
Yeah. So basically, you're talking about like when was Lebanon Christian? Yeah. When was it? Bring it. Okay. First of all, I'm smelling a smell of weed over here.
Sorry?
There's a smell of weed over here. I don't know. Yeah.
It's not him. It's probably someone.
I don't know. All right. This person. Secondly, there's a difference between the Islamic culture, the Arab, and Jews. Jews are a religion. Arab ethnicity. There's two differences, yeah? We've got Arab Jews, not the one in Israel. We've got one in Yemen, not the Israeli one. These are new. From America, from Germany, they came. Okay? Personally. Secondly, Lebanon, if you look 50 years ago, 60 years ago, 70 years ago, it was beautiful as you described. It was also Muslim. Even Syria. If you look 70, 60 years ago, why are you saying no? Do you know? You just know, you don't know. Have you looked 70 years ago?
I'll let you finish.
I'm asking you a question. Yes or no? Have you looked 70 years ago?
Okay, I'm going to reply. Okay. So, firstly, I've got to correct Abdul again. So the fact is, the Jews and Judaism are both an ethnicity, a race, and a religion. And what I actually referred to were not Arab Jews, but Arabized Jews. You see, the brother doesn't understand that Islam, in its history, 1400 years of history, has been a supremacist, imperialist, colonialist religion.
As is Christianity.
That has destroyed
That's
the native culture, the native.
Just look what's happening now. Look what's happening now, right?
And they want to Notice he was silent when the Muslims were speaking.
Right, okay.
So, ladies and gentlemen,
the only way he wins his arguments is he keeps talking.
Finish.
Thank you.
What, for 4 hours?
There you go. See, yes.
Doesn't want to listen, does he?
Notice he was silent when he was speaking.
Because I was expecting what you're saying.
That's Islamist supremacism.
I notice you're not debating with me, mate.
Islamist
He's running away. I've got 26
Nobody has the
seconds.
right to speak but the Muslims. Now, let me address his point, Abdullah's point. Because Abdullah has skipped over the fact that for 1400 years, Islam destroyed the culture of the Assyrians, destroyed the culture of the Jews, destroyed the culture of the Copts, destroyed the culture of the Nubians, destroyed the culture of the Berbers, destroyed the culture of the Kurds, tried to destroy the culture of the Armenians, tried to destroy the culture of the Georgians. Wherever Islam has dominated, Arabization has followed, ladies and gentlemen. And so when he claims that you have Jews who are Arabs, he's lying to you. You have Arabized Jews, like you have Arabized Copts or Arabized Assyrians, ladies and gentlemen. Now, ladies and gentlemen, so that's the first lie bust. Secondly, ladies and gentlemen, Islam, I want to talk about, I'm not trying to peddle any myth that says that Islamic civilization never accomplished anything. That's a lie, and anyone who says that is lying.
No, it's actually accomplished quite a lot. He's banned alcohol, gave us mathematics, astronomy, science. No, because he's talking up. I'm not an Islamist. He's not bad manners, he's making a bad statement.
Wait until he's done.
But you just want to talk, you don't want to listen to anyone. Yeah? Basically,
I'll wait until he's done.
Right.
Wait until he's done.
Well,
wait until he's done.
I'll wait until he's done. I'll wait. Well, can I just say something?
I'll wait until he's done.
Last week, you said something really good.
So do you want me to
He doesn't want to hear the truth, that's the fact.
You were wrong.
He doesn't want to hear
He gave a very good speech on the Paris Olympics. What you said about Paris Olympics is
I'm not going to talk until it's finished. Right, ladies and gentlemen, so let me stand here. So,
he's intimidated now, isn't he?
Yes, literally.
He can't debate with me, can he? He doesn't want to.
So, ladies.
Hiding away.
Wait, don't run away.
No, I'm not running away at all.
Good.
No.
He's running away, so he's back to me.
The reality is, ladies and gentlemen, that if your civilization has been upon the destruction of everyone you oppress, whatever your achievements are, the rest of us are under no obligation to celebrate it. The Assyrians, the Nubians, the Berbers, the Copts, the Jews, none of them need to celebrate it. And notice, he said the destruction of other cultures was good. And that is the problem with Islamist supremacism, ladies and gentlemen. It is that we should all oppose. And that the people in Egypt deserve their freedom. And the people in Iraq deserve their freedom. And the people in Lebanon deserve their freedom. And the Kurds deserve freedom. And the Berbers deserve their freedom. and the Sudanese deserve their freedom.
Man,
go on, you're
have you,
no, I'm having a talk.
Have you read your book?
And misery.
Our book, there's nothing that says we have to demolish, alright? But your book has said, I don't know, but kill a woman or they are compared. No. No, we didn't enslave. We didn't enslave. Trust me. Peace, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him.
Bro, talk to me.
No,
talk to me.
Listen,
talk to me. Make a point.
There is no way that we enslave people.
Go on, bro.
There is even a bigger. When you compare women with donkeys and that stuff, what are you talking about?
Right, ladies and gentlemen.
Why are you interrupting me?
Ladies and gentlemen.
No, why are you interrupting me? When that guy was interrupting me, he was talking. No, I'm not lying. Go on.
Right, ladies and gentlemen. He tried to say that, have you read your book? Your book teaches you to destroy other people. But there's nothing like that in my book. Nothing. So I'm going to challenge him to show me a verse like I'm about to read in the Bible, where it says this. Fight! Everybody say fight! Fight! Brother, fight!
Nobody even talked to you, brother.
There you go. There you go. Look, it's running away. It's running away. Listen, fight those who believe not in Allah, nor the last day, nor hold back forbidden, which Allah has forbidden. Message. No, acknowledge the religion is running. He's running.
If you can talk, go to the other land.
He's running.
No, don't talk to me. If you're a man, go talk to Canada.
Because he can't meet the challenge. He can't show me a verse like this in the Bible, but I'm going to read it. Listen to what it says. And by the way, guys, you gave him his way out. This is why you shouldn't talk to people in the debate. Listen to what the verse says. It says, fight those who believe not in Allah, nor the last day, nor hold that forbidden which Allah hath been forbidden by Allah, and his messenger, nor unacknowledge the religion of truth from among the people of the book, as Jews and Christians, until they pay the jizya with willing submission and feel themselves subdued. That term subdued could also be translated as humiliated. Put your hand up, Christians, if you want to feel yourself subdued under an Islamic state. Put your hands up if you are against the idea of being subdued in an Islamic state. So there you go. The verse does call for the oppression of others. Thank you.
Right, Bob, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go on.
Is it true in your mind that any Islamist who supports the killing of Christians and others are just as guilty of the murder as those who commit the crime?
Okay. So I want to make it clear, we need to create a culture that is toxic in their apology. Slave. These people need to that show they are not needed. No, you're not going to interrupt. You're going to address his question and then you can ask a question. We need to create a culture that drives the Islamist out. And notice I said Islamist. Why? Because there are those that identify as Muslims that want none of those things. They're better than their prophet. They're better than their book. And we want and can accept them living amongst us. But we need to create a culture that doesn't allow Islamist apologists to living amongst us, of which this corner is full of Islamist apologists. Go on, sir.
You said something about Islamist or Islamic supremacy.
Yes.
Are you for the white and Western supremacy?
Right. I'm going to answer your question.
Yeah, yes or no?
You'll have to excuse me because I'm having a bit of hay fever, so I'm going to cough a bit. Does anyone have any water? I am going to answer your question. No. Dead easy question. So the question.
No.